Nicholas, you're back.
I'm super sleepy.
I saw they were being.
Oh,
You're all set.
oh,
Yeah, I wasn't got it all, yeah.
All right, you do it here. You remote. Or remote.
Yes. Yeah, we have a proposal here. It's loosely going to give them stipends. We're already with that, that's all started. So,
Some of that is existing.
yes, but it's just something we don't have to pay for it.
Right.
So-
But it's not like a new program. So I will ask.
Yeah, okay. If you try to pull it up, it's okay. No particular.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, like 11
From that initial LaSalle cohort.
Stand up. I just won't need
Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's call
Recording
to order
in
the
progress.
April 14th regular meeting committee. We will start tonight, as we do every night, with one of our fifth graders leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And back by popular demand, we have Nicholas Bernstein from Countryside. There's no obligation to participate, but for those who are willing and able, please rise for the pledge. Nicholas, floor is yours, buddy.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Nicholas. All right, we have three folks who have signed up in the room for public comment this evening. Lisa, I don't believe we have any. We have no remote commenters, so we will just go with the three in the room here. We have Ali Franke first, followed by Dan Evans, followed by Lindsay Golden. You have 3 minutes. Emily will give you the 30-second warning. Please state your name and address to start your comment. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Ali Franke. I live on Mossman Street, and tonight we have 3 generations from Mossman Street here. Thank you to those who used your voices and your votes. On behalf of the over 200 Newton voters and the fully funded NPS community, you've shown us you value our kids as important and deserving. I've recently heard a few things. Only 20 or 30% of Newton voters or households have kids in NPS. Seniors are good voters who care more about roads than schools. Newton politicians of the 80s and 90s kicked the can down the road by not funding the pension or maintaining roads. Our kids are paying for the sins of Newton's past leaders. People are going to leave. People have left. For those still not sold on freeing just a bit more cash to fund the schools, I bet you're thinking Newton voters without NPS kids don't want you to. I'm here to say that doesn't ring true on my street. We have an honorary grandma who hosts kids-only movie nights, Another senior teaches our kids bike safety and vocally supports the schools on social media. In addition to caring about our kids and their education, I expect they also care about the value of their homes. Who doesn't care? What means money for your own retirement or for your heirs? At the risk of sounding silly, what if kids could vote? If over 11,000 NPS students had the right to vote, would they be a valued constituency? If they told you they needed their intervention teachers and counselors, would you listen? Why must our kids pay the price today for the poor choices made by the adults who led this city back when I was a kid? Haven't our kids already paid enough, seeing as they survived a global pandemic and are still weathering the after effects? The vibe I'm picking up is too bad, so sad. Help is not on the way. Over 200 Newton voters are with me when I say we wholeheartedly reject that our kids need to keep paying. Absolutely not.
You have 30 seconds.
Adults need to clean it up, and skilled leaders should be able to find a way and the will without forcing children to pay the price. Any city that keeps money in the bank while forcing kids to pay for, quote, sins of politicians who shirked their responsibilities a generation ago doesn't seem like such a great community to raise a family after all, does it? Do better, Newton. Be better, Newton. Clean it up.
Thank you. Our next comment in the room will be from Dan Evans.
Hi, Dan Evans, 24 Maynard Street. Thank you first to the school committee members who voted to affirm that our children are far more than mere figures on a budget sheet. This budget is not just a financial plan, it's a lifeline for our children and for the future of our community. Our children should not be held accountable for the decisions made by previous administrators. It is our duty to ensure they have resources and support they need to succeed. Investing in Dr. Nolan's budget is an investment into their future and ours. We cannot allow misallocated funds to dictate the quality of education and support our children receive. We must prioritize their needs and ensure they have the tools to thrive. It is so important that we trust the expertise of our educators and let them decide where to allocate the funds to best support our students. They understand the needs of our children and the strategies required to address them effectively. Mayor, support this budget. Stand with us for our children, for their education, and for the brighter future they deserve.
Thank you. Our final comment this evening is from Lindsay Golden.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Golden. I'm still at 19 Garland Road, and I like following Allie and Dan because basically I can just say ditto. So ditto, Mayor Fuller, please fund the schools. It's the fiscally responsible thing to do, it's the educationally responsible thing to do, and it's the morally responsible thing to do. Our students depend on you. Please do the right thing and support the board's approved budget. Thank you, board, for approving it.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the public comment period for this evening. Let's move to our consent agenda. We have 5 items on there. A grant memo, 2 donation memos, a memo on payroll warrant and contract signature authorization, and a field trips memo. Is there anything a member would like to pull from that consent agenda for further discussion? Tamika?
I would like to pull the additional context.
Okay, grants memo. Anybody else? Okay, so is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the grants memo?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, moved by Tamika, second by Rajiv. Let's vote on that portion of it, and then we'll go to the grants memo. Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2, yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6 is absent. Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 8?
Yes.
And Mayor Fuller.
Yes.
That is 8-0-1 absent. And Tamika, would you like to proceed with the grants memo?
Sure. So I asked the superintendent, something caught my eye, the teacher diversification grant of 84,000 and some change to support local school district efforts to strengthen and diversify existing teacher recruitment and retention programs. I wanted to know a little bit more about how those funds were being utilized.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
So the funny thing about this grant is we actually proposed all of the items for it to you at the inception of the school year. So you saw it in our our district's goals for this year. The grant took all year long to get approved by DESE and was just approved 2 weeks ago. So hard to know what happened there. It was late the year before too, but not this late. So all the things that are in Educator Goal 3 for our year goals is this work. So it includes the Peroni Sizer Institute for Creative Leadership, which at the Hale Center trains leaders and gets administrative certification. We have 2 staff members of color who will be obtaining their principal licensure through that this year. It is the support staff that are existing here. So we had a lot of discussion about turnover and support for staff. It also allowed us to do monthly check-ins with all of our new hires. So a different practice this past year. We have our licensure support programs. So supporting teachers in prepping for MTEL exams, mentor or coach teachers to prepare folks who are taking licensure exams. Of course, simultaneously, DESE changed some of the things that they're doing for licensure. So we had a nice cross of synergy there. Also, new places to go for recruitment. So online repositories and job fairs that didn't exist to us previously. Just reading through the whole grant here. School culture support, so employee resource groups. We had to use a data-driven response to that, and providing training on new educator orientation, racial identity development training, culturally responsive instruction training, training on our non-discrimination protocol, leadership seminars, a paraprofessional partnership and training, and COSPOC, which is a partnership that allows for professional development over time. We actually partnered with Fessenden School this year to have some professional development for some of our Black male educators. Also, tracking helped us to track things like attendance and engagement, the identification of future leaders within the system, promoting a ladder of development for interested parties, mentor training. So all of that was through stipends and through payment for educator credentials.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anna had already shared some of that with me in the minutes when I asked, but I thought that'd be something just interesting for all of us to be aware of a little bit more. And with that, I will, unless there are other questions.
Any other? Okay. Yep,
Oh.
on Ping.
Just quick comment, and very excited to formally notify that we got this grant. And as Tamika and I, probably other people as well, said we have been talking about diversification of school staff leadership for quite a few years, and I'm very happy that the central office making efforts. This is not easy place to make efforts. We understand that the market situation a little bit challenging, but that's even more important. That's why we need to make extra efforts and need to certainly, lag behind in terms of staff diversification when the student population is getting more and more diversified in the past few decades. So appreciate this. Just want to make public comment. Thanks.
And credit goes to our director, Kathy Lopes, and director Joanie Santa, who make this happen, and they wrote the grant and they manage it. So it's a real tribute to them.
Kudos to them. I'll move that we accept the grants as detailed in the memo.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Moved by Tamika, second by Ping. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, let's take a vote. Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2 is yes, Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6 is absent, Ward 7,
Yes.
Ward 8,
Yes.
and Mayor Plummer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 8-0-1 absent. Okay, let's move on to our superintendent's update.
I sent this to the committee, this memo about buffer zones, and it's just been added as a superintendent update. I just feel the need to call this out a little more directly than we have in the past, simply because it's a complicated time, certainly with potential budget reductions on the horizon that impact staffing, which is crossing stream now with how students are placed for their next year's placement and transfer requests are happening. Poor Dr. Farag is awash in change, and I wanted just you all to have the process in place here because it is not the type of process that we can be anything but rigid about, meaning these are the ways that we approach it. It's not like we want everyone to get their first choice when they ask for transfers, but certainly the whole reason we have buffer zones is when enrollment bubbles come up in one place, we can move students to another. And we're right in the process of determining how many sections there are at each school. And that's going to have the sort of ripple effect of not having answers very early. That said, transfer requests have always been, for the last few years, in August notification. And that's certainly still the case here. But I wanted you all to have it, and I also sent it to the city council because our experience last year was that if people did not like the answers that were given in this order of operations from the Office of Elementary Education, they went to each of you and had a story for you. So I would just encourage you to send them back to the Elementary Education Office. They're very warm and snuggly there and try to get to yes whenever they can, but they do want to work the program so that we live what we say about keeping class sizes small and working our buffer zones so that that remains the same for everyone. Did you want to add anything else? Or are you good? All right. So that's my full update. This is many questions coming up about this in all the land.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Nolan on buffer zones? Go ahead, Ping.
And just a quick question. This is regarding elementary school
Mhm.
buffer zone.
Mhm.
Are we saying the middle school might have different procedure or just?
Its procedure is very similar. It's just not as big a deal as this. There's just very few of those types of requests comparative to the elementary.
Interesting. I have to be honest that someone contacted the 5th grade going to middle school. So that case is handled by
That would be
the
Dr.
secondary.
Roundtree, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And generally speaking, there's no official deadline in terms of for families to file their request to be reconsider the school decision. But just mention that the August 15th,
So August 18th.
18th
Yep.
as kind of a deadline for
That's-
central office to notify
Notify them.
families.
Mhm. Yes.
And any kind of due process, if family got the school have some reason to appeal the decision, do we give them a couple weeks or longer time or shorter time to file because it shouldn't be notified? And meanwhile, I understand the central office do want to have certain time to make decision
Right,
before
right.
school starts.
Right. It's a very short turnaround before school starts, so.
Hi
Thank you.
there. Hello. Repeat your question for me, Ping.
How long is the window to file an appeal after August 18th?
So there isn't a formal appeals process. The per the policy, we make the decision and the decision is final. The reason, because things do shift sometimes over the course of the summer, my practice has been over the past several years to open that back up during the week of August 18th
if somebody receives a notification of their buffer zone placement and it is not their preferred choice, I'm happy to look at it again in August when we have the fuller picture of enrollment and shifts over the summer, students that have moved, those kinds of shifts that have happened at that point. Sometimes we have, on the basis of enrollment, realized that we've needed to add a section. And in fact, there are now more spaces somewhere where there had not been earlier. But it's really only during that week that I look at reassessing those placements. And that's done in time for all students and families to be able to participate in all of the back to school activities. They're assigned, they get their classroom assignment on the same day as everybody else. They're able to participate in the sneak peek activities, all of those pieces of things that they're able to participate prior to the start of the school year.
I should have noted at the beginning of my question that this is quite complicated process. And I do fully, appreciate your guys' efforts, because I would assume many families have their unique questions, conditions why they appeal. And sometimes I know it's very difficult because central office have to look at the school enrollment, class enrollment, but the individual family probably would not fully appreciate what's the reasons behind your decision.
It is enrollment based, right? So as is in the policy, these are enrollment based decisions. And so I read every single request. I read the rationales, I understand, and it's very difficult when there are when to disappoint a family. We always want to make people happy. We always want to give people their first choice. And I have to say, I've been tracking that over the past several years. And in the majority of cases, we are able to honor people's requests. It just isn't possible all of the time.
Okay. So quickly, let me confirm. So by now, do you think all the concerned families have received notification or?
No, at this point in time, the only students who are being placed are our kindergarten buffer zone students. That is so that they can participate in screening at their school, even though that decreases the utility of our buffer zones. Kindergarten's a unique time, right? And so for kindergarten students and their families, we place buffer zone students up until through the window of the screening and orientation events. When that window closes at the end of May, we close the placement of students in buffer zones for kindergarten, and we delay everything at that point for all grades until the week of August 18th, when we can see the totality of the enrollment picture for the entire district. The exception with kindergarten students is that there are kindergarten families who request a transfer from a school that is not their districted school or one of their buffer zone choices. Those transfer requests are held until August as well. You'll be assigned a home school that it will be your districted school, but if you're requesting something that's entirely outside of your buffer zone or your districted school, that is delayed until August.
So August 18th is general deadline.
Of August 18th.
Yeah, I could
that is
see.
a lengthy process. It takes us several days to get through everything because it's a whole summer's worth of enrollment and all grades, registrations across all grades, but people are notified during the week of August 18th.
Well, thank you for your information, and appreciate that you guys working hard in the summer, middle of summer, to those are individual cases, and sometimes might take quite some efforts to figure out where is the best, replace the enrollment place, and so at least I understand a little bit better when the parents, contact me. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So just one other piece I wanted to put before the committee. So we have a career vocational technical high school at North and programs at North and South. And I looked back to try to see if there was any information given to all of you recently about this, but the process for CTE programs is that if students are matriculating, they have to go through an exploratory program in 9th grade, and then they choose shops in 10th grade and beyond. And we've received sometimes applications to go to other tech schools because people want something we don't offer. But the regulations indicate that's unless they are choosing an agricultural program, they must do an exploratory with the Newton Public Schools. And so I am asserting that regulatory authority, which has previously not been asserted. But at $22,000 a person who wants to do an exploratory somewhere else, we just are not in the position to be allowing that. So I just wanted you to know that you may hear some information about that, because in the past, people were allowed to go do their exploratory elsewhere. So I'm holding the line, the regulatory line, for financial reasons, and I generally try to follow the regulations. And what that means is if someone decides at the end of the exploratory that they want to go into a major that we don't offer, then they have the right to matriculate to another CTE high school, but not until that exploratory has occurred. So we are right in that zone, that time period right now where that's happening, and we have had to reject some applications. So should you need my support, give me a jingle and we'll talk about it.
Okay, Tamika, question?
Question on that point. So if a student does exercise their right to attend another school because of the it's a major we don't offer, is that a school choice type of situation, or how does that work, and what do we pay?
So it's a
Talk to me.
combination. We do pay, and there's a difference on the cherry sheet that gives us charter school and school choice monies for how that's allocated, but we do pay for that. So I need to scrutinize that pretty carefully. We don't want any hidden costs that we don't have to pay. It's usually, we had a handful last year of kids at other tech schools.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions for Dr. Nolan? Okay, let's move on to our items of discussion this evening. I guess we can really start with 1 and 2 together in our superintendent evaluation process.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you have a memo from me about my evaluation. I hope it looks familiar to you. I gave you a similar one last year. It has all of the evaluation resources for superintendent evaluation, as well as an explanation of the superintendent evaluation from your Association of School Committees. I offer respectfully, you make amendments as you see fit, that today, and we would be sharing documents for tracking ratings, and before the 19th meeting, you would fill out a summative evaluation rubric, which is dynamically clickable there for you based on your individual experiences with my work this year. And I've linked the most recent updated goal document with all of the artifacts that the team and I have put together. It's color coded, as you recall, for completion, and an artifact of evidence, if you will, of that area is linked. We did have docket today, so some items may move around a little bit, but the idea is that by the May 19th meeting, I will share an overview of 2 goals, and I'll share some at the end of April. By June 16th, you'll have everything that you need in order to evaluate me. So at that meeting, it would be hoped that you would vote to approve an evaluation for the superintendent. So the chair takes all of your component feedback parts and aggregates that into a final draft that he shares with you. All of the ratings, of course, are public documents that can be shared publicly. And at the June 16th meeting, you'll have everything that you need as far as the year of completion, including anything that we couldn't complete this year with an explanation of why that might be. You can vote then to approve or revise or reject the draft evaluation from the chair. You could have another meeting prior to June 30th. Just know that we have to file in the summer ratings for the superintendent like every other employee who needs an evaluation filed with the Department of Education. So again, just shared all the you'll note the indicators that you selected 2 years ago when we first started this cycle. We should select new ones next fall. And then if you flip that page over, you'll see that there were 2 goals chosen for me, a student learning goal and professional practice goal, which you allowed to be a 2-year goal given the circumstances of last year. I achieved the student by shadowing students and writing interviews of those students. And this year, we developed the portrait of a learner for the students. And so I developed a Newton profile of an educator process with aligned hiring expectations and questions. And that accompanied the reflection on teacher bright spots that I completed last year. I interviewed the teachers who had the most growth in their students in literacy in a 3-year period and asked them, what are you doing that's getting you all of those results? And so you have that report here, and you have our artifacts of the interview questions and the administrator unified tool for evaluating staff. And then finally, we put together a hiring process to hire Newton educators who will best cultivate the portrait of a learner qualities in our students. And so linked there is a set of interview questions, a process, and so I believe that to be complete. I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can dive into it and ask me questions at the next meeting.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Nolan? And I will be sending out, as we go through the process, reminders and updates on getting those evaluations collected, so we have time to compile everything. So your timely response to those would be appreciated. Questions for Dr. Nolan? Tamika?
Thanks, Chris. So same process correction that I believe I made last year, which is that Newton, we typically, it's the school committee's leadership, both chair and vice chair, who compile the, the summative review of the superintendent evaluation. So I just want to note that for posterity.
Other questions? Okay, great. All right, let's move on then to the next agenda item, which is school choice overview. So as I'm sure you all recall, we do have to have a public hearing and vote on school choice that is required under law. That, for anyone watching and doesn't know what that means, school choice is whether or not Newton will allow students from other districts to come attend the Newton Public Schools, for which Newton Public Schools receives compensation from the state on a per student basis. Dr. Nolan, do you want to introduce that?
Sure, I'd just like a little guidance from the committee. So it feels like we just did this like 5 weeks ago, because we did it not long ago. So Mr. Hurley and I, put this together aggregating everything that we gave you last year on terms of school choice and programming. And I guess I just want to say to you that I still, in the big ideas category, encourage the committee to consider this program for targeted and short-term revenue generation, especially in a time when we are struggling with seeking funding. However, given the fact that we are in such flux with our elementary classroom reductions and staffing changes, I, at this time, don't believe that we could mount a school choice program for this year. So I'm not going to recommend it. I still believe in it. I still want us to explore it, but we could not do that effectively right now without further complicating the very complicated situation that you just heard about. So we're going to have 15 fewer classrooms than we did last year in terms of elementary school placements. And honestly, that's the time where we want to get students as early as possible. We are going to be reducing teams at the middle school level. And I think we know that at the high school level, we still have not reduced class sizes sufficient of our own internal Newton high school students that we would be wanting to target additional revenue there. So I just think we're in a different spot than we were, and we are definitely logistically maxed right now related to bargaining the changes that we're making for the financial reductions that we are doing. I, of course, serve the committee, and if the committee would like to explore this in more detail, I am ready with the presentation to give an overview to you and the public. But I would just benefit from guidance, as I'm sure you would appreciate not having to go through a long school choice discussion if you did not have to.
Any questions, comments? Barry?
I'm good. I think you're right. I mean, I was gonna say that anyway if it came up for debate, so it's probably not the right time. So I would take your advice anyway. So I'm good.
I appreciate your conciseness. Emily?
I'm good. Seriously. No, I appreciate the openness and the transparency in terms of the decision making, and I think it's definitely the right choice right now.
Other questions, comments? Okay. Anping?
Last year, probably I was one of the most ardent supporters of school choice program, but also I appreciate that we put a lot of efforts and thoughts into this decision-making process. And I understood that people will be more considerate and careful to assess all kind of factors. Before today's meeting, I was anxious to hear, Dr. Nolan's input before I can share my thought. Considering that this year's budget situation, I thought possibly this could be a good move to increase our budget a little bit. But now with your input, I appreciate that because I really trust on this topic, you have experience and you certainly worked with the school choice program in your district before. So now I have to use the same word, I'm good now, and not to make any more comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll agree with Anping. I was in favor of this last year. I do think it, and I agree with Dr. Nolan. I think it is a good lever that this committee should consider, but not something that certainly the committee should force on the superintendent. And beyond that, certainly take to heart what you said of the amount of flux we're dealing with at the current moment. Maybe that would have helped alleviate it if we had that $480,000. I know different committee members have different views on that. So
I could benefit from some guidance, what you would like the school choice hearing to look like, since we aren't doing it. We had like 4 meetings on this last time, or 3. So we can definitely do a presentation so the public understands it.
can I make a recommendation? Maybe if we just have one simple communication saying from you, as I mean, you were the one who really proposed it last year, to say, this is not something you're recommending for this current year. And therefore it's, Rajiv, go ahead. Do you want to?
Yeah, sorry, I disagree.
Okay.
I think the tradition has been that we have to hold a hearing. I think that's a requirement.
You have to.
And that gets posted as it should be. To speak about it, that's fine. They're, as citizens, it's one of the open hearings, and everyone who shows up gets to speak. I don't know that there necessarily needs to be much more communication beyond that. It's also a school committee decision, not a superintendent decision. I think we need to be clear on that as well. I fully appreciate and agree with what Dr. Nolan has said regarding the additional challenges of implementing school choice this year. But as my understanding is that this is a decision for the 9 members of the school committee, and we leave it at that.
I just want to be clear. I'm not saying we do anything but hold the hearing. Just what do you want to have happen at that hearing?
As I think we've always done, anyone who wishes to come and speak about school choice, pro or con, is welcome to come and speak. And that's really it.
Go ahead.
I just want to say quickly, we could even schedule it to have the vote if we want to the same day as the hearing. We've done that for many years. But the school committee does need to vote before June 1st. That's our statutory application.
Yes, and so my only question was whether, because this was such a long drawn out process last year, just to inform people of, the superintendent herself has a different recommendation to the committee than she had last year, recognizing, yes, it is up to the committee, as the superintendent learned last year. Tamika?
So that would be consistent with prior practice, which is the superintendent writes a memo with your recommendation in favor or in opposition to the school committee electing to join school choice. And then we take up that A for a hearing and then for a vote. So memo would be appropriate.
Yeah, I'm more just concerned, do we want to do any public education? That was the root of my question, just because we are educated on it. If you want, one part of public meetings is informing the public. I serve at your pleasure.
I feel we were well educated last year. It's the information is here.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions on school choice and how we're going to move forward there? The public hearing, I think we tentatively have scheduled for.
One moment. It is scheduled for April 30th. Is that right? No, that can't be right. May 5th? May 5th. Yeah.
Okay,
May 5th.
May 5th. Public hearing tentatively scheduled for May 5th. And Lisa, we would want to notice that with a possible vote. Thank you. Okay, if nothing else on school choice, we can move on to the last day of school. Getting to be that time of year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had one snow day this winter, such as it was. On Thursday, February 6th, the last day of school for K-12 students will be Monday, June 23rd, and the last day for K-12 teachers will be Tuesday, June 24th. The last day for students in the Newton Early Childhood Program will be Friday, June 20th, and Tuesday, June 24th for the NECP teachers. Ask for your approval to notice, vote on this in affirmative, and then I'll notice the staff and the community.
Any questions?
I think I already know the answer to this, but there's no way to possibly take a day away, is there?
There is not.
Good.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We are noticed to vote this, so is there a motion to approve the last days of school as presented?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Rajiv, second by Anping. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote on that. Ward 1.
Yes.
Ward 2, yes. Ward 3.
Yes.
Ward 4.
Yes.
Ward 5. Ward 6 is absent. Ward 7.
Yes.
Ward 8.
Yes.
And Mayor Fuller.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0-1 absent. Last day of school, Monday, June 23rd for students. Okay. Our last item on the agenda tonight is just what I think is likely a very brief update on the budget. I don't know if you want to, I have a couple things I can say. I don't know if you have anything you want to say, Dr. Nolan.
I don't. We are presenting to the City Council on Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, to the Programs and Services and Financial Committee. So that is what is upcoming. It's presentation you've seen before. It's what you voted and explaining that to the City Council and to the community.
About the only updates I have to give, other than, yes, we will be presenting to the City Council. And I know there may be some who aren't happy to hear this, but we are still pulling on various legal threads that we do not have full visibility on at this point in time. In answering some of those questions, both in terms of interpreting statute and in terms of what are the various legal pathways that this whole process can follow. I was hoping and had requested that we have answers for those questions by Monday, but our council just could not get there in time. And in particular, as you know, as these processes go, one question spawns three new questions and three new lines of thinking. So it's been that kind of fluid discussion. Yeah, Rajiv, go ahead.
I will unfortunately not be able to attend. I'm picking up out of town guests from South Station. I think there will be a lot of support. And is this a session where there will be questions from the city council that you and Liam would be addressing?
I anticipate that it would be, yes.
Okay. So it's not just a pure presentation, it's actually a back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened last year.
Yeah, typically there'll be a short presentation, and then the city council members will have the opportunity to ask whatever questions they want on the budget. We will hopefully be fully prepared to answer any of those questions. It is a joint meeting of programs and services and the finance committee.
Great, thank you.
Although I think it's not atypical that you sometimes get other members who show up as well, given the level of interest. Tamika?
So on the forthcoming legal analysis, I understand that there's a delay, and your hope is to have that information by our next meeting. Is that correct?
I can't imagine we won't have those answers by our next meeting.
Okay. So question for the mayor. At one time prior to when we learned that this legal analysis was solicited, for lack of a better word, you had offered to have some type of analysis from the city law department. Is that still your intention to put forward? And if so, when might we expect that?
Let's see what Chris's lawyers come up with.
They're not my lawyers.
It's outside counsel. What the lawyers for the school committee come up with.
Which are the lawyers for the city, so, right?
In a roundabout way.
No and yes. We use
Firm.
a person from that excellent firm on contract matters, but it's not, I do not believe there's any overlap in who you're speaking with.
True.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Emily?
I would ask, would it be helpful for there to be additional school committee support in the audience, not necessarily to answer questions, but can we go to the kids' table? Or well, what's the story?
Good question in terms of I don't know if there's a legal issue because it's technically not our meeting.
Right.
Traditionally, school committee members are very much welcome and sit at the table in the center. Certainly, but that is certainly the school committee's chair's decision. But traditionally, anybody who happens to be in town and can come often comes.
And given we've voted and approved a budget, and that is really the presentation, it's I think we're unlikely to trip over ourselves from a open meeting perspective.
Yeah.
You are certainly welcome to join us at the kids' table. Oh, yes, Tamika, go ahead.
So further context on that is, so long as it's a properly posted meeting, it is an open meeting and we are covered, we can, a quorum of the members of the school committee can attend and deliberate, and, you know, all of the normal relation or incidents of a public meeting would apply.
Okay, well, there you go. So come one, come all, and join us at the kids' table. Yeah. I know, we'll miss you, Rajiv. We'll miss you. Other questions on the budget? Okay, well, congratulations. Miraculously, that covers our agenda for this evening, and we are adjourned.